Welcome, everyone. Today, we are going to virtually visit the island of Ireland. Ireland's a land of rugged landscape, mystical legends, and home to the popular show Game of Thrones. I was lucky enough to visit there for the first time this past February, and I had such a fantastic time that I've been revisiting my memories of going there daily. So before we get started, I do have a few tips for any of our new viewers. This is a live presentation, so please, there could be moments when your screen freezes. Please be patient as it should correct itself within about 30 seconds or so. If you are viewing today on a handheld device, you may want to unlock your screen view and turn your device sideways so that it's the landscape mode. Just like that. And you are more than welcome to take screenshots. Sometimes we do have websites or contact information up on the screen, and you may want to keep that info for future reference. We do also have a Q&A chat function that's available on the right-hand side of your screen. At the end of our presentation, we will have a Q&A session with our experts, so please post your questions in the chat, and we'll be sure to ask the experts during that part of our presentation. So joining us today, we have Jennifer, who's an expat from Ireland who is living in Manitoba. Jennifer normally works in our Brandon, Manitoba office, but is currently on mat leave. We sort of mentioned to her that we wanted to have an Ireland expert, and she jumped at the chance to volunteer to talk about her homeland. We also have Jen, who's from our Oshawa, Ontario office, and she's also going to share some memories of her vacation to Ireland. So thank you so much for joining us today, Jennifer.
Thanks for having me, Sherry. I'm really delighted.
Yeah, well, we're happy to have you. Can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Yes, certainly. Well, as Sherry mentioned, I'm in the Brandon, Manitoba. I'm based in Brandon, Manitoba. I've been in Canada for 7 years. I've worked in the travel industry since I left college in 2004. So travel runs through my veins, it really does. I love everything about it. And for those of you who know me, know that I absolutely love talking about my homeland. I'm completely biased, but I genuinely and truly believe that Ireland is one of the most beautiful and amazing countries to visit.
All right. So can you tell us, is Ireland open for business? Can someone go to visit there right now?
Well, it is open for business in the sense that restaurants and shops and hotels and everything are open. It's really focusing on domestic tourism at the moment. They're trying to encourage Irish people to stay in Ireland and take staycations. Yes, international travellers can come into Ireland. However, you will have to quarantine for 14 days.
Okay, so somewhat similar to what we're doing here in Canada.
Very similar, yeah.
Okay. So, Jennifer, can you tell our viewers what you feel draws people to want to visit Ireland?
Well, I think a big thing is ancestry. I don't think I can go by a day in Canada without somebody telling me that they're Irish or their cousins are Irish or somebody's Irish. So where Ireland has just over 6 million in the whole island of a population, yet 90 million people claim it as home. So many people are going over to trace their ancestry. Golf is a massive thing for Ireland as well. We've got some of the best courses in the world. So a lot of people come for golf. I think a lot of young people are being drawn now because of Game of Thrones. Obviously, that's a massive show. And a lot of it was filmed in Ireland, especially in the north of Ireland. So that's drawing in a lot of visitors. And I think the castles and all the stories, yeah, it's just everybody seems to want to go to Ireland. And once you get there, I think people know why, because it is absolutely stunning.
Yeah, it definitely is. So what do you feel is a personal highlight for you to talk about when you're promoting Ireland? Sort of your favorite area?
And I'm looking at the pictures here, like one of my favorite areas is Antrim in the northern coast. So the Glens of Antrim is absolutely gorgeous. Now, especially on a sunny day, if you're driving along the coastal route and you look over to the right, you think you're looking at a little island. You're like wondering, where is that? It's actually Scotland. So it's that close, like Scotland and the north of Ireland are practically touching. And it's just spectacular. And one of the things I love about this area is it's unspoilt. You don't see the mass tourists that go down to Kerry, which is also a gorgeous area. So if you're looking for sort of the hidden Ireland, head to the Glens of Antrim. Now you do have the Giant's Causeway there. So Giant's Causeway is a busy tourist attraction, but it's spectacular. And if you're a bit of a geography geek like myself, you'll just be amazed by it. And you have to read up the old legends that they talk about. A giant came over. You did it, Cherry, didn't you, when you were there?
I certainly did. Yeah, the giant went over to, I think it was Iceland, and the other giant from Iceland chased him back.
Yep. But it's just, it's spectacular to see. But so I always encourage people to go to that area because it's worth seeing, and you don't see anything like it anywhere else in the world.
No, definitely you don't. So what do you feel are the absolute must-see and must-do things for anybody who's visiting Ireland?
Okay, well, definitely give yourself enough time when you're in Dublin. I'm from Dublin. So, and I think it's only since I've left Ireland that I appreciate how much of a great city it is. And the buildings, the architecture, you'll see a lot of the buildings are Georgian buildings and they're listed, so you can't change them. So, and I'm looking at the picture here of Trinity College. Trinity College is the home to the oldest book in the world, which is the Book of Kells. The cathedrals, the cobbled streets, it's a walking city, but I do recommend taking a hop on, hop off bus tour because it's a great way of just exploring at your own pace. So give yourself a few days. And another thing, if you want to again escape the city centre and the tourist hotspots, take the Dart, which is the Irish equivalent of a subway, and it goes along the coastal route and brings you to the suburbs of Dublin. And there's some gorgeous areas. I know Jen is going to talk about Malahide later on, but there's a lovely area called Dalkey and Killiney. Now, my parents are from this area and they're lucky enough to bump into Matt Damon a couple of times. He's now a resident of this area. He was there during when the COVID lockdown happened, when he was doing filming, and he's decided to come back because he absolutely loves Ireland so much. And it's just full of different, pubs and restaurants. Just well worth doing if you want to escape the tourist hubs.
Yeah, I have to say we walked everywhere in Dublin, everywhere. I would use my little Google map and it would say 1.2 kilometers away. I would say, oh, forget it, we're walking. And the sights that you would see in the streets, it was amazing.
Yeah, and it's a walking city, and remember as well, the streets don't make sense really. So it's not like you have avenues and the way it is in North America. It's very, very different, and that's part of the fun, getting lost in the city.
Oh yeah, and you won't starve or go thirsty, that's for sure. There's always a pub on every corner. Mm-hmm. So speaking of that, can you tell me what's the one food item and drink item that you have to try when you go to Ireland?
Well, listen, I think everybody has to try the black stuff when they go to Ireland. I'm not the biggest fan of myself, but I brought a group of people from actually Manitoba to Ireland a couple of years ago on a tour, and they all said, oh, we don't like Guinness, don't like it at all, until they got to Ireland and they actually tried the real stuff. So Guinness is actually brewed in Dublin, and people love it. Not the biggest fan myself, but you have to try it. What I miss is a full Irish breakfast. Bacon, sausage, pudding, the full works, and it sets you up for the day. Most of the hotels that we book for you will include a full Irish breakfast. You don't even need lunch then, it's so filling. Because we're an island, you have to try the seafood. There's an abundance of seafood in Ireland as well, and seafood restaurants. And a lot of the pubs will serve really good fish and chips. You're actually making me starving when I'm looking at these pictures, I have to say. But the fish and chips is fantastic as well. And if you're outside of the city and you find a small, fish and chip shop, get the one where it's wrapped in newspaper. It's the real McCoy then. Really, really good.
Good. We tried it all, and I can't say we did not have. There wasn't a meal that we regretted. That's for sure. Everything was excellent. There was a lot of farm to table restaurants. Mm-hmm. And people were very. They really wanted you to know where it had come from locally. So, absolutely. And a lot of the menus changed every day in most places where we were.
Yeah, and I get that when I was working prior to having my baby, a lot of people would ask me, oh, do you cater for, celiacs and people with specific dietary requirements? Ireland has something for everybody with regards to food. You have the big mass chains that you expect in any other place, but when you're in Ireland, avoid those chains. Go to the local restaurants and pubs because you're tasting the real good stuff and fresh food as well.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. So shopping, that's always next on my bucket list when I'm traveling. So what are some of the top things that people should seek out when they're shopping in Ireland?
Well, normally when you hear of shopping in Ireland, people will hit the touristy hotspots and pick up their wools and all the rest. If you were to ask any Irish, and I'm going to generalize here and say Irish woman, that lives outside of Ireland or even in Ireland and you ask them what's the best shop to go to, they're going to say Penneys, which is also known as Primark. It is by far the best shop. I miss it. When I go home, I'll take an empty suitcase just so I can go into Penneys and stock up on all the latest gear. It has clothes, it has household stuff, it has absolutely everything. And you know what? It's such good value. It is so cheap. You can get a whole new wardrobe for €20.
That's exactly what I had said to the person I had traveled with. I said I might as well have not brought any clothes. I could have just went to Penneys and bought a whole new wardrobe.
And so cheap.
Yeah.
So cheap. And the stuff is really, it doesn't matter if you're very wealthy or, you know, you're really budget conscious, everybody shops in Penneys because it's just great stuff. Now, for those of you who want to bring back momentums, you know, to say, oh, I was in Ireland and I got this, like you have the likes of Waterford Crystal, which they've some gorgeous pieces, and Newbridge Silverware is another great one as well, and Balik, but they're available in all the different stores throughout the country. And of course, you'll always find a good deal when you're leaving and you're getting duty free. You'll always find a good bargain there as well.
Yeah, that's for sure. So what sort of currency do I need to be using when I'm in Ireland?
So in Ireland, in the Republic of Ireland, it's euros. So, and then in the north, you'll need sterling. But my recommendation, I'll say this no matter what destination you're traveling to, bring little cash. Like credit cards are accepted everywhere. So just bring a small amount of cash for if you're going in for, you know, if you're tipping or you're getting a coffee or something like that. But bring your credit card, use that. It's the safest form of payment anyway. But euros for the Republic of Ireland. So if you're bringing some cash, bring euros.
Okay. Now I noticed everybody spoke English everywhere I went, but the signs had a different language on them. What was that about?
You mean to tell me, Sherry, you couldn't read it?
No, I couldn't.
That is the signs. So a bit like in Canada where you'll see French and English, in Ireland we'll have our Gaeilge, which means Irish. So in schools you have to learn Irish, or if you want to join the Garda Síochána, which is the police force in Ireland, you need to know Irish. So all of our signs are Os Gaeilge and in English. And then in certain parts of the country in the west of Ireland, known as the Gaeltacht area, you'll have people who only speak Irish. Now they know English as well. English is our is the mother tongue, but people like to hold on to Ireland Irish as well. It's a bit of a dying language, so that's why they're trying to save it.
Okay. So what sort of vacation packages can I get when I'm traveling within Ireland? Is there a package that you'd recommend?
Do you know what? There's something for everybody. There really is. There's bus tours. If you want to have everything tailor-made, you have cruises. So many of the cruise lines now stop in Dublin and they'll stop in Cork as well. If you're not comfortable with being with a large group of people, I would highly recommend doing a private tour. Like you can have it where there's just a couple of you or a small family, which is a fantastic way to see the country. But my personal favorite is to do a self-drive. You don't need a car when you're in Dublin, so pick up a car when you're leaving Dublin and then just go at your own pace. It's a really, really great way to see a country. And people worry, yes, we drive on the other side of the road. We can spot the tourists in Ireland and we're pretty polite. So we tend to be polite. If we see people going down the wrong way, we're normally pretty nice to them, you know, turn around. But I've had so many people saying I'm a bit afraid to drive, and then they do it and they say, what was I worried about? I do recommend that. And for those of you who don't want to drive, there's a fantastic train service that will take you between the major cities like Dublin and Belfast, or Dublin and Cork and Galway, and then the bus routes as well. Now, it'll take a little bit longer because the trains only serve the major cities, but you can, the downside of using public transport is you can't get to those far away places. If you're trying to get to the very top of Donegal to see where Star Wars was filmed, it'll be hard to get there in public transport, and that's where a private tour or a car really comes in handy.
Yeah, when I was there, we did private day tours, well, semi-private day tours. There was about, it said 6 to 12 people. It was a nice Mercedes van. And because it was such a small group, he was able to ask us, okay, so we're going to Belfast today, you know, here's 3 sites we can choose from along the way. Which ones do you want to see? So it was very nice that they were able to personalize it based on who was on their tour.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people will do that. If they're staying in Dublin, they'll take day trips from Dublin, and really it's very easy to do. Ireland is a small country. Remember, you can drive the top to the bottom in just over 5 hours. So, yeah. But although it's a small country, there's still so much to do and see. So give yourself enough time when you're there.
Okay, so just a little further into getting around. Is it if it's easy to get around when you're staying in Ireland? Do you recommend that people rent a car, or you spoke a little bit about the public transport not being as accessible as if they want to get to some of the smaller areas? So, would you get a car in Dublin or?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a game changer when you have a car. You do not need a car in Dublin. It's actually it's a hindrance to have a car. I'm from Dublin, so I'm comfortable in driving in the city, but anybody from outside of Dublin doesn't even want to drive in Dublin because the streets are, one-way streets, and car parking is extortionate, very, very expensive. So I always recommend people is stay in Dublin, stay in the city centre, spend a few days, and then what you can do then is pick up a car from the airport. It's very easy to hop on a bus and go out to the airport, and then that way you're avoiding all of the traffic and you're not getting confused because it's main roads that leave from the airport. So you're avoiding all of that hassle. And definitely pre-book your car with SellOffVacations before you go, because we have fantastic rates. We really, really do. I've had people say, oh, I'll wait until I get there. And I try to encourage people, no, do it beforehand, because it's far more expensive to book it when you're there. And you're sort of desperate at that stage as well. So that's my one bit of tip. Definitely book that beforehand.
Okay, thank you. So what would you consider to be the best time of year to visit Ireland?
Well, you're definitely not going for the weather. Let me tell you that, okay? Because you can have you probably experienced it, Cherry. You can have four seasons in one day. But so it's an all year round destination. It really depends on your budget, because the most expensive time to travel to Ireland would be the summer months. You're looking at June, July and August. But the one thing I'll say about those months, it's full of tourists. That's when all the mass crowds are coming and the kids are off school. So in my personal opinion, I think the nicest time to go is either May or September, because it's the start of summer. So the days are longer. You may not have glorious sunshine all day, but the day is definitely longer. And you're avoiding those big crowds. Now, again, if you're very, very budget conscious, you'll get a fantastic deal if you go in January or February or October and November. And as I said, you're not going for the weather, so you could end up getting glorious sunshine then. I mentioned already, I brought a group from Canada a couple of years ago, and we went in October, and the weather was splendid. We had the most amazing views of the cliffs of Moher. You couldn't have asked for better weather. So, yeah. And if you get rain, hop into Pennies and buy yourself some rain.
There you go.
Yeah.
We went in February, and it really wasn't that much of a hindrance, the weather. I mean, we did have to wear a parka. It is a damp cold, so a little bit different than here in Canada than what we're used to. But certainly we still walked everywhere. It was not a hindrance at all. And we did actually have a few days where the weather actually turned really nice and we were actually without a jacket. So it just varies.
That's it.
So last question I have for you. What's your best insider tip for visiting Ireland?
Insider tip, again, give yourself enough time in Dublin, which I've said already, because there's so many things to do and see. Do you know what? Watch a few movies about Ireland before you go as well, because it gives you a bit of, we've a very, very interesting history. So there's some really good ones out there. Also, when you're going to the pubs, I see the John Mead pub there. There's some really, really great old pubs that are in Ireland, and you go into them and they're the same families that have been there for a common phrase in Ireland is donkey's years, which means a long time. They're the same families that work there, and you'll have the live music, you'll hear all the stories, and they love Canadians. They absolutely love people coming and visiting our country. So go in there, stay away from the big chains that you find in Dublin City especially, and find yourself some of those old pubs or local pubs and chat to the locals. Because that's one of the fun things, is meeting the people and hearing all the stories. And you'll probably find some cousins. You never know.
You never know. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for all your insider information. We can't wait to have you back in the office, and we will have you back up again for the Q&A at the end. So up next, we do have Jen, who's from our Oshawa office. Jen has been to Ireland a few times, and she's been very eager to share her vacation memories with us.
Oh, thank you, Sherry. Oh, Jennifer, seeing your pictures and listening to you talk so passionately about Ireland just makes me want to go back and back and back. It brings back so many memories. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Jen Sire, and I'm the branch manager of the SellOffVacations Oshawa location. I've been in the travel industry for 15 years, and I've had the honor to work for SellOffVacations for the last 5 years. And I'm so excited to share my experiences in Ireland with everyone tonight. The first time I went to Ireland was on my honeymoon some 20 years ago. Great memories. And I've now been back 3 times and plan to visit many, many more times. On my latest trip, my husband and I took our 4 grown children with us, and we had a wonderful holiday. Ireland definitely is for everyone. Yeah, that's me, the little short one. After a 7-hour flight from Toronto, and 9 hours for those of you coming from Vancouver, I find it best to stay awake and walk around outside to avoid some major jet lag. And what better way to enjoy the Guinness Storehouse tour? It's housed in an old fermentation plant, and you start your journey at the bottom of the world's largest pint glass and end at the gravity bar, overlooking the city with your complimentary, perfectly poured pint of Guinness. Notice the shamrock on top? Ireland's most iconic drink, and it is one of my personal favorites. Here I am sitting with my boys waiting for my Guinness to be poured. Another great tip I've learned from my daughter is to take a free city walking tour. They're run by local guides. They're about 3 hours long, and you get to learn some great local history, all while exploring the city on foot. My stepson Connor found his perfect pub while we were on one of these walks. You never know what you're going to find. There are several ways to get around Ireland, as Jennifer mentioned, with the major cities connected by train and an extensive bus route. However, I feel the best way is to experience Ireland by car, wandering the back roads, and yes, getting lost. That's the whole charm of it. Staying in local B&Bs and enjoying that great Irish hospitality. You can't find friendlier people anywhere in the world. And if you're as lucky as I was, you may get to stay at one of your friends' cottage as well. Thank you, Jennifer. Love the cottage and especially love the donkeys in the backyard. Just a note that accommodations are a little bit smaller than they are in Canada, but I think that's part of the whole charm of Ireland as well. The Irish countryside is beautiful, lush greens, and so many, many shades of green. There's quaint villages, there's scenic views, there's spectacular coastlines. Just look at that crystal clear water. It's like being in the Caribbean, only better. There's castles dotted along the way, and there's sheep everywhere. Anyone that knows me knows that I love sheep. Maybe you can even see a sheep traffic jam or the Irish traffic jam next time you're there as well. The Cliffs of Moher. They're just breathtaking and definitely not to be missed. They're located on the rugged west coast, and the cliffs are a geographical and geological wonder. They will leave you completely awestruck. We even witnessed a marriage proposal at the top of the lookout tower. Now that is true romance. While driving the popular Ring of Kerry, which is about 4 hours, but with your numerous stops, it will take you just a wee bit longer. We took the extra loop to include a visit to the Kerry Cliffs. They're less crowded than the Cliffs of Moher, and as you can see, the views are magnificent. It was definitely worth the extra kilometers to see these great views. Blarney Castle, located in County Cork, is another popular attraction. Are you brave enough to kiss the Blarney Stone? It is said to give those who kiss it the gift of gab. I was too afraid, as I'm not a really big fan of heights, but I think I must have kissed it in another life because I do love to chat. You may also want to visit the Blarney Woolen Mills when you're there and pick up some beautiful woolen jumpers, we call those sweaters, some Irish linens, some Celtic jewelry, or my favorite perfume, Inish. Or perhaps you need to bring home one of your own Irish sheep like I did. Remember, bring your credit cards and a few euros for some sampling of Guinness along the way. We ended our driving holiday in Malahide, which is a quaint little seaside village, which is only about 9 kilometers from the Dublin airport. It's perfect for dropping off your rental car. Malahide offers an array of traditional shops, several cobblestone side streets, an array of pubs and restaurants, and you can enjoy your dinner while watching the sunset. How beautiful is that? We also visited the medieval Malahide Castle. When my husband and I were there on our honeymoon, we actually met actor Clancy Brown. Sadly to say, we didn't meet any celebrities on this trip, but maybe next time I'll get to run into Matt Damon myself. But we did enjoy the beautiful, beautiful surroundings. So I hope my pictures have inspired you to want to explore Ireland. I'd love to be able to sit down with you and help you plan your perfect Ireland experience. Please reach out to me at oshawa@selloffvacations.com, as I love to sit down and talk about the Emerald Isle. Sláinte, and have a great night, everyone.
Thanks so much, Jen. Shannon, I believe you've been compiling all the questions in the Q&A. Do you have any questions for our experts tonight?
We did have a few come in, not as many as other nights. I think we covered a lot of info in that presentation, so maybe we didn't need as many questions. So we'll go through what we have here. I'll start with you, Jennifer. Someone mentioned, how much does it cost to stay in a castle for the night?
Shannon, there's a budget there's a castle for everyone's budget.
Okay.
There really is. Like, you'll get a castle for €100 a night, which is about $140, or you can spend €1,000 and stay in a really, really grand castle. But there's hundreds of castles in Ireland, and if you, as I said, Jen Sire has experienced castles. She'll be able to tell people the perfect one that will fit everybody's budget.
Oh, that's amazing. Perfect. All right. There's another one here for you, Jennifer. If you're not staying the night in a castle, is there typically a cost to get in?
No, not at all.
No?
Like, remember, now you'll have the old castles that aren't hotels, that that they're actually tourist attractions now.
Right.
Normally there will be a fee to get into those. But
Okay.
if you want to go into one of the hotels that are the castles that are actually hotels, no fee whatsoever. Now, if you're going into the likes of Ashford Castle or Dromoland Castle, which they're part of the leading hotels of the world, like 5-star plus, you can go in and have yourself a cup of tea or afternoon tea or just a drink, or just walk around the grounds. There's no fee at all. It'll just make you want to stay though. Yeah.
Amazing. Perfect. Thank you, Jennifer. Jen, I'm going to come to you now. Someone asked if they can use a future travel credit towards flights or packages to Ireland. Are you able to answer that?
That's a very good question, Shannon. Yes, you definitely can use your future travel credits. You can use them towards certain components of your package. Sometimes it could be your air, your holiday stays, your car rentals with certain tour operators. But if you wanted to reach out to me, I would gladly sit down and talk to you and sort of tailor that to your individual future travel credits.
Perfect. And there's another one here that ties into that as well. They asked, are they able to use WestJet dollars specifically to travel to Ireland?
Yes, you can use your WestJet dollars towards your air flight, not for your packages, like not your hotels and your car rentals.
Okay, perfect. And then there's another one here as well, Jen, and I think you can answer this. Is an international driver's license required when driving in Ireland?
Another fantastic question. No, definitely. You do not need to have an international driver's license. I do, however, recommend when we are booking your car rental for you to add on the extra insurance. It's just going to save you a lot of extra money.
Yeah.
And it gives you that peace of mind just in case, because the roads are a little bit narrow and things seem to jump out at you sometimes.
Right. Yeah, I can well imagine. Jennifer, I'm going to come back to you with another two more questions, actually. The first one is, someone asked, is there a better time of year to travel to Ireland? Now, I know you sort of touched on that during your presentation, but...
Do you know what? It really depends on somebody's budget. Like, if you're looking for the best deal, go in the winter months. Avoiding March. March is the start of spring, but it's a very popular time in Ireland because of St. Patrick's Day. So it's a fantastic celebration. So if you want to see some amazing crowds and, enjoy the parties, St. Patrick's Day is a great time. But for me, again, I would personally say May or September are great months. Weather tends to be good, days are long, and prices aren't as high as June, July, or August. And you're avoiding the big crowds that usually come into Ireland during the summer months.
Okay, perfect. That's great. And one more here, Jennifer. Someone said if they're there for 10 days, are they are there about 3 areas they should stay and venture in from?
Okay, if you're there for 10 days, well, I would definitely give yourself 3 or 4 days in Dublin. Well, firstly, as Jen said already, like your first day when you arrive, stay up as late as you can because there is a time difference. So give yourself 3 or 4 days. You can do what Sherry did and take day trips to the likes of Cliffs of Moher and everything from Dublin.
Right.
But if you were to stay in areas, I would personally choose Dublin. And then you can take the train over to Galway. So Galway is in the west of the country. It is a city, but it has a village feel to it. People are still really friendly. And then personally, I would do Belfast as well, where I spoke about the Glens of Antrim, and you can do the Giant's Causeway, or if you're Game of Thrones fans, you can do lots of day trips from there. But yeah, it's definitely doable. Ideally, give yourself 3 weeks, but again, I'm biased.
Yeah, for sure. Not everybody can do that, but that's great.
I'll just jump in. When I went, we did spend 6 straight days in Dublin, and while that was great, the scenery and everything outside of Dublin is really the highlight of the trip. I mean, certainly we enjoyed the pubs and the city life, but for me, I probably, if I was to go back, I wouldn't probably spend more than exactly what you said, 3 or 4 days in Dublin. And then I would try and venture out into some of the smaller towns because the scenery and the people, it was just fantastic.
Yeah, awesome. And Jen, Sire, I'm going to come back to you. Someone asked, do you know if it's possible to visit the Star Wars site? Is that something you would be able to answer, or maybe Jennifer?
I'm going to transfer that one over to Jennifer because I have not been.
Perfect.
I'm dying to hear her answer.
Excellent.
Do you know, you can, and that's something where you'd really need a car because it's just right at the top of the Donegal coast, so you can drive up there. Now, I do believe that there's some tour companies that will take day trips up there too, but it's, as I said, it's at the very top of the country, and the roads up there aren't main roads. So although it could be 100 miles, you know, it'll take longer because you're going down windy roads. But if you're up in that area where it's filmed, there's Killybegs, which is another area of Donegal. They have the most amazing seafood. So again, every part of Ireland, there's something to do and see, but you absolutely can see where it was filmed.
Awesome. And this other one just came in, actually. I think I'm going to put it to you as well, Jennifer. They asked, is the Titanic exhibit open? And if it is, you may not know this, I'm not sure, but what are the COVID restrictions?
It's definitely open. My understanding, and actually I'm making an assumption here that it's the same where you have to be 2 meters apart from people. And I'm not sure what the restrictions are of visitor numbers inside, but I'm sure if you were to check out the official website, you'll be able to see it there. That's another place where it's well worth visiting in Belfast because the Titanic was built there. But just another insider tip. I'm always talking about food if you can't gather. But right next door to the Titanic Museum is the Titanic Hotel. And by far, it is probably the best fish and chips I've ever had in anywhere in the world that I've gone to.
Absolutely. Oh, wow.
That's
good to know.
Food. Yes, scrumptious food.
Good. Okay, and I think just one more question just came in here. Jen, I think I'll put this to you, and I think you might just want to give them your information so you can cater to their needs, but are there hotel and flight packages available? I think they're probably referring to just in general maybe, but...
Yes, that's true, Shannon. Yes, there are lots of different flight and hotel packages that I can do for you. The cost and everything depends on the time of year that you're going, where you want to stay. So if you definitely want to reach out to me at SellOffVacations.com, I'd love to tailor make a custom Ireland package for you.
Excellent. And I know you would do a really good job with that. So that's great, Jen. Thank you. Sherry, that was it for questions tonight. Actually, one might have just came in here. Jennifer, is Newgrange open?
Yes, Newgrange is open at the moment. Again, I'm not sure what the restrictions are, but it is absolutely open.
Okay, excellent, perfect. Yeah, that was it for the questions this evening. So I'll put it back to you, Sherry.
Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jen, and thank you, Jennifer. I loved Ireland. I loved it so much. I loved the history. I loved the scenery. I could have just sat in a vehicle and watched the green hills go by all day long. So I definitely know I will be going back. Thank you to everybody for joining me today. If you have posted a question and we didn't get it answered for you, Shannon and Pam will be on the chat function for about 10 minutes after the presentation to answer those questions. You're definitely more than welcome to call Sell Off Vacations tonight. We're open till 9 p.m. Eastern, and you can reach one of our agents at 1-877-735-5633. As well, you can also contact our Ireland expert, our agent Jen in Oshawa, and her email is oshawa@selloffvacations.com. So today's presentation, we will be posting it on our YouTube channel. It's recorded and it'll be posted on there. You can also view any of our past presentations as well as the latest resort and airline COVID safety videos if you wanted to view those as well. They're all there. All right, so next Wednesday, we're going to be heading to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And I sure hope you can grab a margarita and join us. See you then. Bye-bye.